Sponsored by the Dunleary Rattown Local Enterprise Office. You're listening to Business Eye on Dublin South FM.
And welcome, folks, to Business Eye. Yes, another Friday. I feel like Groundhog when I say, yes, another Friday. Enthusiastic and excited because of the weekend. But I'm always excited to see my good friend Simon, who has won another award. My God, Simon, you must be stacking those awards up. What is it? What's the award that you just won? Tell the audience.
I'm losing all my money. I'm paying for them, Joe. No, it's Thinkers 360 for entrepreneurship, which you know more than I do. I was going to ask you, do you have the Freedom of Wicklow yet?
The Freedom of Wicklow. Well, Simon, we can talk about the Freedom of Wicklow. If you come down here, I'll give you half an oak tree and I'll say you have the keys to the wood, which is quite funny actually, because Simon, Tony Houlihan, the man has got the freedom of Dublin City. What do you think of that?
Exactly.
What's your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting. The timing is interesting. In the same 24 hours that he bucks the trend of pretty much every EU country and says effectively that the population of Ireland can't be trusted with antigen tests. In other words, we're locked down. He gets the freedom of Dublin. That's just my opinion, by the way. Yes,
freedom for lockdown. That's it. That's his new slogan. You know, he can run a sheep in Stephen's Green now, but he can lock down them. But on a serious note, you know, we know that with business travellers as well, you know, travelling backward forwards to England, and we know that the airlines as well have just shot something out saying, be very cautious that if people are getting the vaccine, because we know thrombosis can be an issue with long haul flights. But they're also just saying, look, because of this, that people have to be cautious. And when I typed that into Google, good old Google, I also found out that the Belgian football team, which is the EU, some of the members of the EU team, which will be travelling, they're sort of just holding back now on getting the vaccine as well. So, you know, there's a lot going on in the world. On a good news, I see that the kids in Israel no longer are forced to wear masks, and there's a video which is trending online, and when the teacher tells them, you should see them. They are excited, they are jumping, they are laughter, they're ripping them up, you know, like presents, and it made me feel really good to hear that as well. So it's all very strange. It's all very strange.
It's also strange. I heard my first Christmas advert this morning on the radio. Can you believe it? They're talking Christmas in July. They do that in Australia, but I've never heard it in Ireland before. Christmas in July.
No, I think we're just clutching for straws for something. I think we are. You know, I think people are really sort of enjoying the summer, and then we're going to see what happens for the next couple of months as well. But that's it. Simon, who have we got today?
Well, we're going to be talking today about the importance of relationships and trust and consistency and treating people with respect in relation to sales and business. Move away from the old school ways of doing sales. So we have two really energetic guests today. First up is Louise Lally, and she has her own business. She's an accredited coach. She's a retail mentor, trainer, and specialist in that space. So welcome, Louise. How are you?
Hi, delighted to be on. Yeah, looking forward to talking today about relationships. I think it's really topical. I know with things opening up, some people are doing it really well, and then some people have a lot to do, I suppose, in that space. From what I've seen on the high street in the retail space. So yeah, it'll be nice to talk about that.
Cool. And then second, and somebody I know very well, Breda McCague. Breda is a transformation specialist. She's managing director, motivational speaker. She is co-founder of Lean in Ireland, and an all-round amazing motivator, positive spirit, and just a great relationship builder. So welcome, Breda.
Thank you very much, Simon and Joe. Delighted to be here with Oya and Louise. And I'm probably interested in the emotional relationship side of this piece more. I'm probably fascinated, I would say, at this stage in what makes people tick. So I'm all into the why we do what we do and how to get us to do what's good for us.
It's interesting that you say, you know, what we do. I'll tell you a little story. Last week, my phone blew up. basically. I downloaded the newest software on my phone and it blew up. I had no phone for a week. So I had no LinkedIn, I had no WhatsApp, I had nothing. And I felt a withdrawal symptom. And I was just picking up this block. It was basically a block of wood, right? Or a block of metal. And I kept just picking it up and looking at it. I was having these withdrawals. And as the days went through, I started to feel liberated and started to stop feeling that anxiety or finding out to talk to people. And I started just enjoying my kids more, believe it or not, sitting down with them and all. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that, you know, with sales and with this growing business, have we come too involved and too dependent on our technology to do business? I'll open up to both of you. Breda, you can go first.
Okay. I would say, first of all, how we deal with our phones and the relationship we have with technology is based on a lot of habits. I mean, when you practice something, your mind just runs on habits. And if it's used to going to that phone to see what's on that phone, not only do you not recognize that that's a pressure that's on you, but you do it without thinking. It's a default mechanism. And I suppose it's around understanding human behaviors is where we need to get to so that we can then figure out how best to do that. Because your question is, you know, have we gone too far with technology? I think technology is massive. It has played a massive role in my life, that's for sure. And I really do believe in technology for good, because I think if you know how to use it, it's like anything. You can really benefit from it. But I'm not sure that everybody knows how to use it that well. I do think that, you know, in terms of retail, as Louise mentioned there, it's opening up again soon. A lot of people have learned a lot about digital and tech over the last year because they had no choice. We've all become very good at tech compared to where we were. So I don't think we can ever get away from it. I think it's there for good. I just think we need to learn how to use it best as humans and society.
Louise, what do you think?
Yeah, I think my perspective on it would be a balance. So it's having a balanced approach to, I think, the technical side and the relationship side. If I look at, for example, EAP programs that they would run in businesses, so employee assistance programs, I think that it's more digital now, and they have all of these wellbeing programs online, but it doesn't always work for everyone. And I think there has to be a balance where you're talking to someone and you're having that relationship and that personal connection occurs. So I think it's a balance. I think it's good in some ways, but when it's imbalanced and it's too technical focused, we miss out on that connection piece. And I think even talking to people that were doing interviews virtually, I had a client and she really struggled to put her personality across in a virtual setting, and she felt that she couldn't feel that energy even walking in. She's in hospitality. She said, even when I walk into the hotel, I'd be imagining where I was working. I'd be imagining being on that front desk. So I think the virtual is great, but getting that little bit of a balance, I think, where you're still connecting with people, I think is important.
The one thing that I found, which was shocking, I couldn't even get into my bank. You know, there was stuff there that I couldn't do. And it made me kind of take a step back and go, hang on, I've come too dependent on this piece of machinery. So now I've cleared everything. And I'm only just on my PC is my apps and everything. But on my phone now, I'm keeping it just for calls and maybe messages and everything else will go off, and just see how that goes. Yeah.
I had that experience yesterday. I had to close a business account on one of the two big banks. I won't mention it, but you know it, Breda. And online, and the online system said, you can't do it online. You have to call us. I called them, and after an hour on that, they said, you need to go into the bank because it's a business account. I went to the bank and they said, there's fees on this. You need to transfer money into it, close it. I did that. That was an hour there. And then today I've just got a text back saying you can't close the account because there's money in it. But the other thing, the heartbreaking thing, when I was in the branch yesterday, we forget about those people who cannot handle technology. The people, you know, in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, and there were a dear old couple in there, must have been in their 80s. And they looked terrified. And they went to a junior member of staff and said, we can't get to our bank. And this junior member of staff was saying to them, you need to have the app. and they had no idea what an app was. I don't think they'd ever heard about it, right? And the woman said, you need to use your mobile phone. And the man said, can we use our landline phone to get in? So what do we do to the 10, 20% of people that can't do this online? Well, Breda, what do we need to think about this stuff? Yeah. What do you think we do?
I think it's in every part of retail. So I think because of COVID, so many industries have put such a focus on digital, that they also need to keep in parallel that person-to-person service. Now, most of them do that, but you can see how the world is evolving and how it is becoming more digital. Processes are focused on digital, no matter what industry you're in. There are always going to be vulnerable customers in every industry, and they do need to be accommodated. And to be fair, there is a lot of policy and guideline around that, and that does come from the likes of the central banks and so forth. So I do think it is accommodated. The experience on the ground, I have elderly parents myself, so I know what this is like. I do all of their work for them online. And it is by no means easy. I mean, you always have to provide alternative routes. I was looking at the vaccines when they started to roll out the registration process. And I was delighted to see that there was phone numbers there for elderly people who are not only anxious about a vaccine, but now anxious about having to do this online thing that they don't understand. And it's just not part of their culture or part of their day-to-day. And naturally, it is scary. So I do think it's important that no matter what industry we're talking about, that we always maintain that sort of access route for those vulnerable customers, because they'll always exist.
My question leads up to this. Old school. And we talk about old school sales, and we talk about the new way of doing things. So what's the difference between old school and a new way of selling? Louise?
Yeah, great question, by the way. I think it's definitely evolved in the last 10 years. You now have QR codes on shelves of products. So the customer scans that QR code and it'll lead them into how to apply the product or how to do the product or whatever. So I think it's evolved massively, even from a footfall perspective in the business, targeting people through Instagram, all of that social media piece. It's evolved massively. I do think that what Breda touched on there, that, even though we have all of these amazing things in our business, we have to have people on the front line that's able to adapt to those people that are coming in, and maybe they're not at that level of technology. So I've worked a business that have CRM and databases, and like that, an elderly lady came in and she didn't have an email, so she couldn't sign up to that database. But one of the team on the floor was like, well, you know what, we're having a customer event in 2 weeks' time. Do you want me to maybe call you? So there's ways that you can adapt. You can still have a really big business, but you can also have those guys, give them that autonomy on the floor and having them adapt to those people that don't have it. So you can do a lot of that. I think technology has been great from a retail perspective. We all know the omni-channel piece is huge at the moment, and even those click and collect orders, a lot of companies are doing ship from store and they're doing online orders. So it's supported businesses keeping going over the last year and a half. I'd say it's going to get even bigger now. There's virtual sales people now. You can go into businesses and you could get a virtual reality person talking to you. I think it's fantastic in a lot of ways. I think the customer experience will be one that will be a huge focus over the next year or two. So they're talking about having hiring an Instagrammer to be based in a store. So you come in and you have that Instagrammer and you're going to hire them part-time. They're going to bring footfall into your business, and all of these amazing things that are going to come out from creating that experience in your business. And that all comes back to that personalized approach. So you have those different customers coming in. You have a team that have the autonomy to be able to make those decisions, and not relying on calling the manager. Well, let me just see if I can actually take your number, or let me see what I can do, because they have that ability to do that.
Joe and I are always available for gigs, by the way.
Always.
Breda.
I think it's all about choice. So as we talk here, we're talking about, is it old school or the new way of doing it? And what's always been important is choice, because what my lifestyle might really suit the digital way of interacting as a customer, but someone else's lifestyle really may not. So I think what's always going to be important in sales and in customer service and in providing services of any kind is choice, and making sure that all of the channels that you offer your products on are all sort of provided for all of the different sectors and demographics.
If you were going to tell, maybe an alien came down and you had to tell them how we connect with people most effectively in sales, what do we need to do to really connect with people? Maybe I'll start with you, Louise. What are the things we need to really do?
The focus shouldn't be on the KPIs. The focus is obviously that's a result, that's an output. Sometimes what happens is we focus on, we want our average transaction, we want a certain amount of money coming in the till, or we want a certain amount of things being purchased. It should be around connecting and building a relationship and building a rapport with a person. So I'm going to get to know them and what are their needs, asking them really great questions. I'm not going to go in with a sale pitch, and that's what you find sometimes. You might go into an electrical store and you could be looking at a really nice plasma TV, and the person will come over and instinctively think that you want that TV because you're looking at it, and that's the mistake we make. So they'll go in and they'll go, isn't it an amazing TV? Well, there's an offer on today. I mightn't even want a TV. So instead of coming and going, hi, how are you getting on today? And really using that to build a rapport. So they're putting that main focus on getting to know you as an individual and getting to know what you're about, as opposed to you're standing in front of a product and I'm going to try and now sell you the product. So we're building that relationship, because 9 times out of 10, they'll come in, they'll check it out, they'll get to know you, but they're not always going to buy, but they'll come back again because they've built that little bit of a relationship with you. They'll come back and buy. So I think the relationship piece is really important.
Cool. Breda, how would you describe how we should connect?
Well, first of all, that alien, I'm going to send him to you, Simon, because you are the pro at connecting. If I look at your LinkedIn, I think it's all about needs, right, for me. And I was in sales years ago for many years. And there is where I started to realize, the word sales sounds like you're going to influence someone to buy something that they don't really need. Whereas in fact, if you just turn this all on its head, it's all about empathy and trying to recognize what the needs are. Because every one of us have needs and we need them met. I mean, I used to get phone calls from a garage last year when I wasn't looking at buying a car, and I used to see them as a nuisance, right? And we've all had messages, DMs, you get loads of links to stuff that you've no interest in, and it irritates us as humans because our time is precious and we don't want to waste it on stuff we have no need for. However, this year I have a need for a car, and I am chasing the garages at the moment to see what stock they have. And so I'm an easy one to sell to because I have a need. And so I think if you're in retail and you're in a service industry, it's all about trying to look beneath the immediate layer when you meet people and try to understand what's happening in their life and what their needs are. And it just takes a little bit more work on conscious effort and what they're be after. As Louise said, make assumptions all the time. We see people looking at a product, or, myself, that I had sent an inquiry to a garage, but I hadn't a need last year. So it's all about not assuming and assuming incorrectly, but listening and trying to have empathy with the person in front of you. Because again, we're talking about, vulnerable customers at times. The older people maybe find it very frustrating and very worrying. So I think let's just make an effort to see if we can get more empathy in there and more of that needs assessments.
I totally agree. We've always said in sales, it's empathy, not sympathy. And, people can mix them up. And it's always, empathy is the key. And talking about the motor industry and when people would say interact with someone, I tell a story that a guy goes into a showroom and he's looking at a sports car, and the sales guy says to him, do you want to take it for a test drive? And he goes, yeah. And he jumps in it and drives her around the block, and they get out, and your man goes, what do you think? He says, I love it, but I don't think it's what my mother would like.
Sponsored by the Dunleary Rattown Local Enterprise Office. You're listening to Business Eye on Dublin South FM.
It's asking those questions, and I think it's relationship. I think we're getting caught up in technology, and we're getting caught up in AI, but there has to be that human connection, and it builds back to trust. And one of the things that you always need to do is it's relationship building. You know, I was in the motor trade for maybe 20 odd years. And after I left the motor trade, I had people still calling me up, asking me, could I source in for cars for them? And I noticed in all industries, and because we're all in sales, we watch what other people do. So if I'm going into a shop to buy a pair of trousers, or if I'm going in somewhere, and if the guy comes up and says, can I help you? Or the girl comes up and says, can I help you? And you go, no, I'm only looking. I watch to see what happens next. And most of them go, okay, thanks. I'll be over here if you can help. Where the next thing should be, is there anything that you're looking for? But, is there anything you're particularly looking for? Maybe it could help you. That's not pushing, but it's starting to engage that curiosity and build that rapport, and then get that conversation going. So, yeah. What Simon, with yourself in this, what do you feel in conversation is a good, segue or lead way when people are engaging with a salesperson?
Well, you mentioned trust, and I might flip it a bit because I'm kind of interested in can we force trust, right? Can we actually force trust? Are there methods to actually persuade somebody else to trust you, or does trust actually just need to take time? I'm kind of answering you with that question because I've never actually heard that question asked. Is trust naturally a result of a period of time between two people, or are there a couple of things you can do to force it a bit quicker?
I think it's where the customer is in mindset is in the sales process. So if they need it yesterday, that trust can be forced. If they're interested, but if they're not disturbed enough to actually make the next step, then that needs work. So I think it's the sales, where they are in the mindset on it.
Yeah. What do you both think, Louise? Trust is a very fragile thing because it's very hard to define what it is, but we all feel lack of trust in our gut. So from a sales perspective, I suppose if we could capture this and bottle this, you'd make a fortune. But maybe give us your thoughts around trust, how this can be developed.
Yeah, I do think it's dependent on the individual. So, you could be speaking to somebody that really is I suppose, really wants that knowledge piece. So really wants to know, does she know what she's talking about? Wants that really good information, wants clarity on what that product is. And you'll get that trust by having that knowledge on what it is they're after. And you can build on that a little bit. Then you have other people that really build on the relationship piece. So do you have a really good after sales service? And can you talk me through that? So it really does depend on the individual, I think, a little bit, and understanding what they want from that. So it's me understand, okay, this is what they're looking for. So I can either match what they're looking for and their needs and understand that and clarify it. And then you're building that bit of trust then in that, and you're giving them that reassurance. I do think you can build trust quickly, depending on the situation, the individual. I do think it's possible to do that. I do think people know when you're authentic. Majority people know by the way your body language is, by the way you're talking, your gestures, they can kind of get that feel for it while they're speaking to you. So I do think it can be gained quite quickly, but also on the flip side, it can also be broken quite quickly as well. And that's where, that person is competent in what they're saying, or that person is delivering in what they're saying. So, we have this phrase, you under promise and you over deliver. So, we always under promise, but we'll always over deliver. And that's kind of our rule of thumb that we would kind of go with. But yeah, I do think it can be built.
Breda, what do you think?
I'm thinking back to Joe's example of someone in a clothes shop, and the staff member walks over and said, can I help you with anything? And the person says no. I think that's where your opportunity to build trust fast is, because so you've obviously provided the opportunity to serve that customer if that's what they wanted. When they say no, I think that's your opportunity to have conversation, and that authentic conversation, as Louise talked about there. It's where you need the open questions, the likes of when someone has said, no, I'm fine here, I'm just having a look. That's when you should say things like, how are you getting on today? Weather's nice outside. Something to start conversation so that customer then sees this human in front of them that is now of interest to them. And I think that's how you build relationships. That's certainly how I do it. And I also think if you're good with your own vulnerabilities, people see that, and that's that authentic piece. And people are very open and very drawn to that. So I think you can build trust fast if you are open, authentic, honest, and good with your own vulnerabilities. People usually magnetize that back.
I think it's being genuine. Simon, trust is being genuine. You can't, they always say you fake it till you make it. But if you're genuinely in a career and you love the job that you're doing, and someone then has come into that store and you are going over to them genuinely to help them, I think that's where it is. And I've said this for years as well, that stop selling to people, start helping people. Because the mindset that we have when we think of selling, it seems to, it's a dirty word. It's the used car sales guy, the dirty word from the movies and everything. But if you kind of take that away and say, I'm actually just going to try and genuinely help someone. And if I can help them, and then by helping them, I help myself as well. And I think that's really where it is on it. So would you agree with that? If, sort of switch it from selling to helping?
Yeah, I think there is a kind of an image attached to that sales, for their own benefit as opposed to benefiting the person. I think that's kind of what people imagine a little bit in their head. But I think that the really good people that are in that are genuinely the really good salespeople. When I think of anyone at the top of my head that I've had one of those wow moments with in a store, or it could be in any sort of an area, I always think how they made me feel, and how they spoke to me, and I was number one in their eyes for those couple of seconds or those couple of minutes. And I think it is them just genuinely putting someone else, and thinking about that other person. And it's, there is amazing people out there that do that really well. And I think there's a lot more that we could do in that space with connection with people, a lot more. Yeah, and it's simple things. It's not, we don't need loads of money. It's really easy things that we do every day, but we just kind of forget when we go into work. We don't always think of it.
I think you've hit it on the head. I think it's the feeling that you're being noticed by the other person, they're noticing you. And then conversely, in responding back, that you want them to feel that you appreciate them, right? They're two small words, but noticing and appreciating. And I think we just got so wrapped up in being artificial and being rushed and hurried and treating each other with a bit of disconnected disdain kind of thing. And notice and appreciate. I talked about the bank yesterday, and I was kind of being negative, but my experience in the bank was very positive. The guy there noticed my frustration. I could tell he noticed it. So what do you think about that, Breda? Is it as simple as noticing and appreciating? I think it is pretty much.
I think it's about respect. You mentioned earlier, Joe, genuine. Is it about being genuine? I think when you feel respected as a customer, and back to Louise's point there, when someone is you're made feel like the priority for a few seconds that you're with that salesperson, I think it's about feeling respected. I do. I certainly am allergic to the opposite of that, where we get pushy salespeople. And I don't know if you all notice, but I get a lot of direct messages these days that are super pushy. They have no connection with me. They've not built a relationship at all. They're straight in trying to sell me something or someone or something I should do. That absolutely I am allergic to. I think most people are allergic to that, because I don't think when that happens, I think the emotion that we have is one of distrust. and we feel suspicious, rightfully so in some cases. So I think it's all about that genuine piece, making people feel respected. It's back to that needs as well. They need a service. So make them feel respected when they're trying to engage with you as the service provider.
Yeah.
Do you know one of the biggest issues that the sales industry fail on is follow-up? You know, we all can be genuine and we can all talk to that person in that moment and we'll get back to you with that. That it's only a very, very small percentage of the sales industry that actually follow up. And that percentage that follow up are the ones that gain the most. And I think that's, we all have different interpretations of sales, but I think the biggest issue right across the whole board is lack of follow-up, and not knowing how to follow up which is quite scary as well. So, in both of your industries and both the people that you're dealing with, do you come across that as well, and how do you help people with that?
Yeah, I'll go. So to answer your question, I think it's out of sight, out of mind a little bit. I think they're in that moment, they're in front of them, and once they leave, it's okay, on to the next. I think that's kind of the mindset a little bit. I suppose there isn't on that much. The traders' way they're brought into the business is to focus when they're in front of you. So I think it's a lot got to do with how the business managing that there is a focus there where they're at. I think for the businesses I've been involved in, I think it's got to do with the after sales, really, where I think the magic happens. So I think we're really great at, getting the customer, giving them what they need. But it's when an issue occurs, that same level of commitment and of trust and of support we need to give. Just because they've left and they've bought it, there's this opinion that, okay, we're going to go on to the next person. But when there's an issue, we need to just be so involved in that process and communicating with them as much as we can. So I do think that there is a gap there, definitely at the moment. And I think there is really easy fixes we can do. You can put in policies, procedures, structures there around that, and that will alleviate that. But I think that's where you'd look at your returning customers, okay, we have a high volume of customers, how many of them is there? And that's why we have the CRM and all of that sort of thing, and we have databases, and we're seeing the loyalty coming back. But when that loyalty isn't being retained, and that's when we're looking at, are we really doing the follow-ups or the after sales really well?
And I would say on the follow-up piece, what I see industries doing and organizations and companies is, if we think about the amount of marketing budget that is spent every day for cross industries, like we load at the front, I think. And as Louise said there, we put serious effort getting customers. But I see across every industry that I ever visit, and I met a few of them, that they slip down then with that follow through. I think if you say you're going to follow up with a customer and you don't, it demonstrates a lack of integrity. I think if you say you're going to follow up with the customer and you do, what that demonstrates is that trust that we've been talking about. And it shows that human that you're dealing with, that you do what you say you're going to do. And consistency is not something we see enough of across society. I can tell you from someone who coaches a lot of people on emotional intelligence, consistency is lacking in our society. I think we all are very good at focusing on what we have to get across the line, but certainly out the back end of that is where people start to sort of lower their standards and not discipline themselves as hard. And that's where you see that, that sale gone, you lost to somebody else that did have the integrity and follow up.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was a survey that I read recently, and the biggest reason why customers leave companies, 68%, the biggest reason is because they feel that the business doesn't care about them. And I think that feeds to inconsistency. And And there's another thing, I think Ted Rubin from the States, who talks about return on relationship, says that people buy from people and brands they trust people and brands they like, and they like people and brands they connect with. Trust and the customer care thing is critical.
I think one of the problems as well, within sales and follow-up is that it's processes are put in place that are too complicated. And I've always believed you start off with a process. So say you have 4 points in the process, and then someone brings in a CRM, and then that's number 6. And then someone says, oh, you need to fill out this sheet, and that's number 7. And eventually then the whole the process is 22 stages. And the sales guy, if he doesn't, or the salesperson, if they don't tick all these, they get a scolding, or they says you're not following in for the KPIs or the data. And I think companies need to sort of pull back, look at all these 22 points that they've developed, especially after lockdown, what they're doing, and say, how can we refine this to get everything, but bring it back down to, say, half the points on it? Because it's all about touch points. And the more that people do, the more that the salesperson loses interest, because they become a paper pusher instead of doing what they want passionately to do, and that's speak to people and sell.
Well said. Well said, Joe.
Well said. Well said indeed. Breda, what's your opinion on that?
So having been someone who many years ago was doing all those follow-up calls, I know how disheartening it is when you're sitting ringing phone numbers for days, and some don't answer and some do answer, don't want to hear from you. Some, very few of them are the ones that go, oh, I'm delighted you rang. I was hoping that you'd ring. Right. So I think people at the end of those phone lines and customer service lines have a serious job trying to keep themselves motivated. I think that's what happens. I don't think it's the sexy end of the business either. There's so much sort of spotlight put on the sales numbers across industries, and very little kudos for all that hard work and that discipline that it takes at that follow-up stage. I think that's why it's not as, I suppose, it's not as recognized, that type of work. Whereas it's hard work. It is hard graft.
Yeah. As I say to people, if you don't like cold calling or don't like making calls, you're in the wrong business. There's every business has a shitty part to it.
You're allowed to say that, Joe.
Yeah, I am.
I like this.
But that's it, and you take the good with the bad. And why did I get into sales? Because I realized I could write my own paycheck at a very young age. I got into programming, and I was doing programming, and I realized I cannot be at a computer. This will drive me insane. And I knew it was sales, but I also realized you could write your own paycheck. But with the good comes the bad on it as well. I just want to, we're getting close to the end here. I want to ask both of you, how with the market and with, Instagram and Facebook and, everyone fighting for this space. So we're all fighting for this computer on the size of our palm of my hand. How are companies adapting competitively to get people into the business? Louise. I keep picking on Louise first all the time.
You're okay.
Let's go and score.
Yeah. I think how businesses are differentiating themselves from other ones is there's a bit of a shift around. They're nearly to just selling a product. So I'll give you an example. A company that's selling candles, homewares, and maybe different products like that, they're kind of bringing more into their business. So I'll give an example. They will bring in somebody, maybe an interior designer, to give a talk, and they might even have a live chat on their Instagram page where they can talk to an interior designer. You're going to buy the cushions for my store, but this interior designer now is going to tell you what that's going to look like. You might send her a picture. So they're evolving. It's not now the case where you go in and you buy your pair of jeans or you buy your top. They're making it more of a brand, of a lifestyle choice. So I think that's how they're differentiating themselves. And to go back to the online, all of these tools now, they're expanding it on an online piece. How do they get them into the store? There is people that still want to come in for that experience. So you will always, even if you go into a store, most people have researched what they're going to buy anyways. If you find people that go into shops, they'll look up that pair of runners or they'll look up that TV or whatever. They'll have researched it. So most of the customers that's coming into bricks and mortar have already looked at your business and are probably know just as much about those products, you could say, as the person that's inside in the store. What they're looking for, though, is to have that bouncing back conversation piece. What they're looking for is not to have to go to the post office and post it off. They're looking to come into the girl in the shop who told them that if there's an issue, I'm going to look after you. You're not going to be talking to a chatbot for about an hour and a half and trying to figure out how to fix the product. So I think that's where that kind of connection piece really helps. But I think online and in store it's a good marry. I think it's a good way of reaching people that are at home. Even there's a great brand that does healthy recipes and meditations and yoga. Do they do classes? No, they sell products, but they're telling us that these products form part of this brand piece because they want you to have a nice mindfulness piece at home and use those products. So I think it's going to be more of a holistic look at a business and more of a lifestyle piece that they're going to be creating over the next while.
Breda.
Yeah, to add to that, so I've seen all of what Louise has mentioned there, and you can see that happening and companies starting to adapt to do more and more of that and bring in the variety into their profiles. What I've also noticed is company owners and company staff starting to probably hear a bit more about themselves, because you've got to remember, we are all obsessed with humans. That's why we watch, Gogglebox and Big Brother. We're fascinated with each other's lives. And I see a lot of businesses with their MDs and some of their staff really starting to get quite personal and sharing their personal brand. I seen something on LinkedIn only this morning, which is around the same point. Elon Musk has 46 million followers on Twitter, but Tesla has only 10 million. And that there is the evidence that you need. I think it's the human touch that attracts you to a profile or attracts you to a post, because digital space is of serious value at this point. It's so busy. And Joe, I know you're off the phone these days, but the rest of us are still stuck in that digital pace. And I do think it's the human piece. It's the CEO or the MD or someone in the business sharing their personal sort of insights to their life is what attracts others.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so true. I mean, when you think about like the US president, we still talk about Barack Obama, and yet he was just the US president. There's been US presidents since, and we still talk about Apple as Steve Jobs. He's been gone a few years. So it is the person, really, it's the person,
Do you know what I hate?
Phones.
Bots. Message bots. Because every message bot leads you to Q&A, So they're there, you go. So now if I jump on something and it goes, hello, I says, are you a real person or a bot? And if it's a bot, I'm not going to waste any more of my energy. I just disengage with it, and I'll ping an email to the company or whatever, because I think it's just taking up too much of my time talking to an AI on it. So that's my pet hate. But everything else I love. I love ice cream. I love the sun. I love not having a phone. Yeah, it's great. It's great. What advice would you give? You've about, say, 30 seconds each. What advice would you give to someone in sales or someone in a small business? Breda, we'll start with yourself.
Yeah, I would say their content, if we're talking about digital stuff here, because obviously we've covered the other pieces around keeping all of the channels accessible, but certainly with the digital content to keep it relatable, and try and bring some of that personal angle to it as well, because relatable is a big one. I mean, not all products are relatable to everyone, but yet and all, you can be attracted to something. How many rabbit holes do we go down every day online, because they have something there relatable to you, and you go off into a few links and you find yourself, down somewhere that you really didn't need to be. So I think relatable is the way to go, and trying just to share some of that personal piece as well.
Louise, 30 seconds.
Yeah. So mine would be around, I suppose, engagement and engaging with those people, but understanding who your customers are and how you're engaging with them, because we all have different businesses. And I think sometimes we don't know who that customer is coming in the store. So we all have our client base. I think it's understanding what that is and engaging with them in the way that is. So if it's a relationship piece, if it's a digital piece, it's getting the basics right, I think. And that's moving to connect with people and building it. And if it's your local community or whatever it is, and talk to people that are your neighbours on the high street, get talking to other people and engage with them. Don't sit in your four walls and expect the money to come in the till. Go out, engage with the local hotel groups, and there's so much you can do within your local town, and for those that are struggling, because there is ones out there. So I would definitely say go out, talk to other people and support each other in getting those sales in and helping each other.
Buy local. I think that's the main thing at the moment. Definitely buy local. Yeah. Louise, if someone wants to find you, where can they? On LinkedIn and your website, please.
Yeah, LinkedIn. I'm Louise Lally, Training Academy. My website is just under construction at the moment, so I'll be up and running in about 2 weeks, so they can reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Breda.
And I'm Breda McCague on Instagram, and Instagram is where I'm trying to share all of the information that I've learned around mind mastery and emotional intelligence with people on a day-to-day basis. And then my talks website is bredamccague.com, and I'd love to see you there.
Perfect. Simon, I'm just thinking about Instagram there. I haven't been on Instagram for a while. I know my PA jumps on and does some stuff there for me. And I tried to get back in today and I couldn't remember even how to do it. That's it.
You're missing Breda's lovely dancing and exercises and trips in the wood and all that sort of stuff.
You're missing out, Joe.
I think it's growing. I think it's growing. Instagram. I know I'm involved in a platform as well, which it's coming up to be very competitive to Facebook. It's airfree.social. And myself and the group are working on that now. We're possibly going to change the name, but I think we've got about 3,500 people on board already. And the reason why people are jumping to it, because people are tired of the algorithms. They're tired of their friends not seeing their messages. They're tired because, something that was a platform for discussion has been taken over by advertisement. And I think a lot of people are tired of that. And that goes back to trust and discussions and conversations on it. So I think, I still believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that Instagram is still there. It's still very much more community than, every second one, an advertisement or whatever on it. So it's conversations on it. So your best platform.
I think they're all quite different.
They're different.
My LinkedIn for me, for business, I like Twitter because I like to watch the gossip of it. But this has been a great chat for me. I think what I take out of this chat is that before you sell, you need to have your product knowledge. You need to know what you're selling, and then you unleash active listening. You need to be adaptable, and you need to understand and demonstrate empathy. So and in addition to that, you need to tell a story and you need to have a brand psychology. So there's 5 or 6 pieces of the jigsaw, but you need to know the product first. That's the context. And on the human stuff, that's what sells.
That's it. That's it. And folks, we're just going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back with our business showcase this week. If you do want to reach out to myself and Simon, remember businesseyeadvisory.com. And you'll find myself and Simon there, where we do masterminds and discussions with thought leaders, entrepreneurs and business owners. So that's businesseyeadvisory.com.
Sponsored by the Dunleary Rattown Local Enterprise Office. You're listening to Business Eye on Dublin South FM.
Yes, folks. And as we say, every week we showcase a business. Yay! And this is our first showcase of the year. So we are delighted, and we will be doing a showcase every week. So if you are interested in coming online and for us to showcase us, drop us an email here at Dublin South FM. Today we have Anne O'Flanagan from Red Squirrel. And after 20 years of a trainer for citizen information providers, decided to go out on her own. In 2019, March, she had enough. She says, I want to be that entrepreneur and go out. And then what happened? We had lockdown. So I admire anybody that actually took that challenge in 2019 and is still around today. You know, a year and a half, 2 years on, actually, over 2 years. So, Anna, how are you? Welcome to Dublin South FM. Welcome to Business Eye.
Hi, Joe. Great to be here.
Tell me why. What was your decision to kind of go, I'm going out my own? You woke up one morning and went, I'm going out on my own. There we go.
Yeah. Well, I guess I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I had a business in my 20s. My dad was an entrepreneur. But the public sector served me very well as well. I worked in Citizens Information Board in training and facilitation and service delivery for a number of years. But then I did a course in UCD with the Innovation Academy. And on the first day of that course, we were asked a question and the facilitator paused after the question. And really in that 20 seconds of pause, I came up with a new business. And that was essentially, the question was, what brings you joy? That was the question. And it really just gave me pause for thought and thinking, okay, I really enjoy my job right now. I love training facilitation, but what really, really brings me joy is bringing people together and doing treasure hunts. And not for children necessarily, although I always ran them for friends and family with kids and stuff around. But it was really about that experience of bringing people together for a fun time, but in a kind of an organized way. I think that's back to my English roots, is that we love organized fun. So that's really what it was. That first day in college in UCD in the Innovation Academy, it was a course on creativity and leadership. And I just thought, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to do treasure hunts for a living.
Perfect. That, I always say that over the last couple of years as well, we forgot to laugh. All that's going on, people need to laugh and have fun. We've been sort of pigeonholed into these boxes where we need to be serious and we need to,
yes,
we need to wear a shirt and tie and we need to speak and do in a certain manner. And this kind of, I
yes,
believe Red Squirrel and what you're doing brings out the child in people as well.
It really does, and I agree with you about the pigeonholing and that need to feel, if you're going to be taken seriously in business, you have to be serious. And actually, to me, in order to get the best out of people, you have to have fun. You have to have fun experiences and be childlike in your work. And it's something that I always did in my other work anyway, was to bring kind of fun to meetings or bring, while also getting the work done. You actually get more out of people when they enjoy each other's company and, enjoy laughs together. Definitely.
It's a great question. What brings me joy? That is, and that is a showstopper. When you ask people that, they kind of go, what brings me joy? I had a brother, God rest his soul, when he was asked what job would he like, and he said, a whiskey taster. Okay.
Yeah. I remember saying the same about it. Sweets. Yeah. And it's true, you've got to do what you love, and that's the other thing that kind of motivated me was, I love giving something back. it's something that gives me joy, is to actually give other people joy. But also, so work is a significant part of our lives and our day and our weeks. If you're not getting joy from what you're doing every day, then there's something really missing from your life. And to me, it's been such a joy to be doing exactly what I want to do.
So what does Red Squirrel do?
Okay, so we design and deliver bespoke team building experiences. So treasure hunt is part of that, but obviously there's been a bit of pivoting, just a little bit, in the last year or so. So I mainly run treasure hunts in Kilrudry House and in Malahide Castle, outdoors in nature, and they're very quirky and different. They're not just your standard kind of one clue to the next. There's, stealth missions and sabotaging other teams and coming together and bringing, leprechauns jumping out of bushes and giving people puzzles and riddles to figure out, and, all sorts of stuff like that. So they're really fun days out. But what people don't actually realize is I'm actually working through a model of team building. So I'm looking at trust and accountability and, how we work together and how the team kind of bonds. So all of that stuff is done just through a fun activity. But also this year I've had to pivot to online stuff, which has been mainly quizzes, murder mysteries and Pictionary type activities, and they're kind of all on a Zoom usually. But they've been really fun as well. I was a bit of a technophobe before this year, and I had to really figure that out. And I didn't realize how much fun you can have actually sitting in my office chair with 50 faces looking at me, ready to be entertained. But actually, that's been great as well.
What have what have the challenges been for yourself since you started in the business?
So obviously the first year I was figuring out what the business was, and I was trying to focus on the Irish company team building market and also the incentive travel market. And I was kind of hoping it'd be about 70% incentive travel and 30% Irish business. And that obviously when things went belly up, we had to figure that out and, change the model a bit. So that was quite a big challenge. Cause I was really focusing on the tourism market or incentive travel, business travel. So that pivot was the first one. And I was also really focusing on getting people into doing orientations of new buildings and doing kind of onboarding for new staff into new buildings. So, but via a treasure hunt. So I did a huge project in the National Rehabilitation Hospital over a number of months with their staff who were moving into a brand new building, but also using brand new processes. So we did a kind of orientation challenge for those staff. And, but we had to figure out how to do that in a completely new way with the pandemic as well. So, it wasn't the same, huddles and, we had to really, really, think outside the box on that one. But so the challenges, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, it's, as you say, with new buildings is that you get all the staff together and you give them all window leaning and a Claude says, right, the first one to clean the window wins. Hang on, what's going on here? And everyone wants to find a cafe. I always find when, like with ourselves, I have a company which is a Conscious Business Academy, and we do play days and within organizations, partying, and then we do a lot of team building as well. And what we found was that, in the very beginning, people are nervous and going, "Oh, this is," they're sort of stiff upper lips.
Yes.
But as the time goes on, like we've had people in their 40s standing around Saturday morning, holding hands, doing the hokey cokey, and all breaking their heart laughing.
Exactly.
And it's sort of that stuff. It's bring back that child to people as well. So it is.
It's that fine balance. I find that at Red Squirrel, we're really keen on psychological safety. So people come along to these things, and some people have had some quite negative experiences of team building, or feeling silly or feeling like a child, and they don't really like being in that space. So for me, it's all about creating that psychological safety. No one gets to feel stupid. No one gets to feel really unfit. You know, there's something for everyone. Everyone gets a chance to absolutely shine. So if your strength is on the team, is in making the, or it's running a plan to do some other thing, you all get a chance to shine, and not everyone has to do it all, so that you feel safe, that you don't feel that you're going to be made an idiot of. And then people can actually feel free to make an idiot of themselves. Yeah. You know, I feel that's where the flip happens, that people are made to feel so safe that they can actually move into that childlike space and really enjoy it and have fun and race their colleague down the hill and, try and sneak up on them building their shelter or whatever. And that all kind of brings it all together and makes people feel much more connected. Yeah,
it's I'm thinking there, how do I destroy the other person's shelter was what came in when you said that to me. But I think when you can laugh at yourself, like, I laugh at myself all the time, and I'll slag off myself all the time as well. So I think when you do that, you kind of go, look, life, as we get older, we get more wiser.
It's true.
What's the plans for the next 12 months for yourself?
So since actually just on Monday, the regulations changed so that we can have 100 people outside. So definitely I'm hoping for a summer full of treasure hunts. And I already have a number of bookings already for Kilruddery and Malahide Castle for teams meeting up outdoors. And because people are still a little bit nervous, we've become institutionalized as a nation and as workplaces. And it took a while for us to get institutionalized, and it'll take a while for us to deinstitutionalize. So I think what's happened is still people aren't necessarily comfortable going back into the office, and that the outdoor space is that fantastic place to meet up so that people feel safe, and kind of it's level the playing field. The CEO and the receptionist are all working together in this kind of equal space. And for me, that's a new departure for people. They don't have to be back on a Zoom, back in the office, feeling nervous. That this is kind of, and I have all the safety standards in place, and the COVID charter, accreditation, and all of that. So people have that knowledge that it's all in a safe space, but that that fun is actually the top priority, and that enjoyment and coming together after so long apart, and people are going to feel nervous, and we express that at the beginning, that people need to be vulnerable and they need to allow themselves to say, I feel nervous, or not everyone here is vaccinated or whatever, but actually we're all outdoors and the safety precautions are in place.
Yeah, it's one of the things as well. It's about just fun and laughter, and not, as you say, we've been institutionalized, and you have to kind of go, fun. Let's just relax. We've had a tough 2 years. Let's be honest. Yeah. It was sort of in people's minds probably October, November, when what was going on in China, and I think we need to sort of look at the future, and fun.
And acknowledge that this is kind of, we're actually going to be experiencing a form of PTSD. Like, even though none of us have been to war and none of us have, had, as my daughter says, it's the most boring apocalypse ever. She was hoping for zombies and things like that, but there's actually, it was staying indoors. It was becoming institutional. It was becoming quite insular, and we just need to find that space to be able to get out there again, but in a way that feels comfortable for people. We need to go easy on ourselves and on others. And I think managers and leaders in organizations need to really acknowledge that and take everyone's views on board to make sure that that everyone feels at one with it. Because if you have even one or two people in the team saying, I'm not comfortable, then that's kind of anti-team building. Yeah, you really need to have accounted for everyone in the team, to make people feel well about whatever activity they choose to do.
Do indeed. Tell me this: what's the best business advice that you'd share with someone who, after your experience?
Well, it's about accessing the right supports. So obviously I access Leo, the local enterprise office, and I went on a course with Joe, yourself, and that was fantastic. So using those kind of supports is brilliant. Using the supports of your family and friends. Most people are rooting for you. Most people aren't competing with you, and even your LinkedIn network, whatever it is, don't be kind of too, protective over your own space. People are actually generally very kind and generous with their time and advice. But the biggest thing that I did was actually set up my own board. So I'm a sole trader who I bring in contractors on treasure hunt days. So people who help me out on those days, but generally I'm on my own. And that's a lonely space. And I don't have all the answers to all the questions about finance and insurance and GDPR and, HR and those kind of things. So this huge amount of expertise you need as a new business. So this board, it's not an official board. It's actually the Red Squirrel panel of mentors. But I set that up and they met around my kitchen table 4 times a year. In exchange for wine and my amazing homemade pâté. In fairness, it's definitely worth coming for, even if you just sit there and stay silent.
One of my favourites, pâté.
Really?
Yeah. I don't drink, but I'll eat a pâté. Yeah.
The pâté is, it's something else, I have to say. But anyway, they came around my kitchen table. We had agendas, we had minutes, we had terms of reference. It was quite official, but it was also very relaxed. And every month, I'd be in contact with my panel or my board and asking them questions, and they were so brilliant with advice and support. And if I hadn't have had them, I would have really, I think, struggled in business, especially during this last year as well, with the figuring out what I'm going to be doing next and how I'm going to pivot to the next challenge. But that board was a brilliant piece of advice actually that I got myself to set up.
So it's ask for help. That's the most important thing.
Ask for help. And also I'm someone who's quite good at asking for help. So I, be looking for advice but also to know then when you are actually the expert, because sometimes you can get all the help and all the opinions and everyone around you is giving you different pieces of advice. And actually sometimes you are the best placed person to figure this one out because you know the business, you know where you're at. And after a certain amount of time, you're the one who has to make the call and live with it. That's the next thing is not to be afraid of failure. I'm really, really brilliant at failing. Really good at that and picking myself up after it and learning from it.
I think one of the things that I always say to people, if you do want to grow your business, and especially as you said there, we are on our own a lot of the time in our little pods, reach your hand out and ask for help. And people love to help. People love to help, and that's one of the things.
They absolutely do.
Anna, if someone wants to reach out to yourselves, check out your website, give us the web address there and people can have a view.
Sure. It's www.redsquirrel. That's 2 R's and 1 L in squirrel. Lots of people spell that wrong. .ie. So it's redsquirrel.ie. And you can also get me at anna@redsquirrel.ie and on LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram.
Brilliant. Anna, thanks for coming on to Business Eye here at Dublin South FM. And yes, folks, if you want your business showcased, if you want to come on and tell us all the wonderful things like Anna has told us about her business, please drop us a line. We'd be delighted to showcase your business. Anna, we're wishing you all the success in the world. So
thanks, Joe.
Thank you and take care.
Sponsored by the Dunleary Rattown Local Enterprise Office. You're listening to Business Eye on Dublin South FM.
So Simon, businesseyeadvisory.com. This week, what I want to sort of touch on is, what do people do? When someone looks at their business, what is the one thing that their offer is? What's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts?
I think you really, really need to have clarity of focus. Somebody said to me a long time ago, the ideal business needs to be an inch wide and a mile deep. And I struggle with this because I juggle lots of different things. But I think for me, the key is having an identity. Forget about branding and marketing and advertising. If you have an identity that people know you for, whatever that is, whether it's sales or growth or selling peanuts, whatever it is, right? People need to remember you. And so I think you need to do whatever you need to do to build an identity, and the right people will navigate or gravitate towards that identity. What do you think?
Yeah, one thing that's just popped up, and something that I say to a lot of clients as well, and I ask them this question, and I'll ask to the people listening today, what problem do you solve? And that's it. If you can have clarity and understand the problem that you solve, because all your clients, all your customers out there have a problem and they're looking for someone to solve it. And if you can solve that problem, if you know what that problem is and you can solve it, I think then you have a business.
Yeah, I agree, because there's plenty of problems out there, and it's not about forcing what you sell on others. It's about figuring out what the problem is and then slotting into that. It's that way around, isn't it? It's not the other way around.
Yeah, I think you have to find that out. I think that you need to do a bit of reverse engineering. You need to go out and find out what the problem is, and that's by asking key questions to people in your community or within your organization. And that's one of the things that we do as well. It's showing people those questions and what to say and what to ask so they can find out what the real problem is within their sector and then solve it. And you and I have been on that journey as well. We've reverse engineered, and don't be as scared of examining your own business. I've moved away from deal making and come back to more mindset growth and the tools that you need to grow. And you've pivoted as well. There's no harm in doing that. Nobody's saying you can't do that, but that you need to honestly reflect and listen to what the problems are and then reverse engineer back and adapt. You have to be careful though. You can't keep doing that because people are going to think you're all over the place, but don't be afraid of examining what you do. One of the things I've learned through the years as well in sales, with a lot of people, when they find out their problem and the problem is, and they're trying to sell it, they offer then, we know, a benefit, that this is the fact or the feature and this is the benefit. But what people really need to get is what is the real benefit when they're selling it to someone, because the real benefit then is the emotional attachment that the customer or the client have to the problem that you can solve as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's profound stuff. The other thing, just to close for me, is that I interviewed somebody recently, and she said, wisdom for a business owner is in the gap between. And so, there's lots of people are thinking along the tram lines, but if you can be the one who thinks about what is missing in that gap between, you've got some magic. You just got to figure out what is in that gap.
Become a better decision maker. That's it, yeah. And look, if people are interested in becoming better decision makers within their business and becoming very fast at making those right decisions, I think they should, well, I don't think they should, I know they should, get in touch with ourselves at businesseyeadvisory.com, and there where we have a monthly mastermind, and then we'll have a weekly private discussion as well within a group, where people can share their information and gather wisdom with their peers. So, anything to add into that, Simon?
No, I agree. I mean, we've got the capacity and the capability. We've seen it all, and it is about staying calm and being focused and having an awareness. But you can't do this alone. You need good mentors and supporters. So we're here, Joe.
We are indeed. We're indeed.